Let me start by giving you a heads up. Most of you, my dear subscribers, and even the visitors, are going to be shell-shocked today at the revelations I'm about to make. Now, I've said this very many times, that Kenyans are not interested in foreign news. However, in this particular case, this is not foreign news because it touches very closely on Kenya. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the diplomatic tiff between Kenya and Somalia that is currently raging. Many of you will remember that 3 Somali diplomats were barred entering to Kenya just last week. The reason? They didn't have visas. Well, that is laughable because for ages, Somalis have been entering Kenya without visas. They get their visas stamped on their passports on entry. And in retaliation, the Somali government has banned all meetings in Kenya, and especially Nairobi, which is crazy because most meetings in the region, United Nations, European Union, etc., are carried out in Nairobi. So how do you operate with that kind of order from the Somali government? Anyway, we shall dig very deep and make some shell-shocking revelations, including the fact that major Western powers have stubbornly blocked the Al-Shabaab terror group from being declared a terrorist organization by the United Nations. Anyway, this is international politics, and it is going to impact Kenya in a very major way. But before we do that, there's just some interesting local developments that I believe deserve some mention, some quick mention. A Kiambu MCA by the name of Julius Macharia Taki and his driver George Ngugi Kiarie spent last night in police cells at Juja police station after being arrested. And what were they arrested for? They were arrested for displaying in their car, in their vehicle, a Toyota Hiace, the national emblem, and also DP William Ruto as Commander-in-Chief. Now, what the police are saying is what they did contravened the National Flag, Emblems and Names Act of 1963. Now, obviously, the MCA is a staunch supporter of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. And we also know that Kimani Ichung'wah, the Member of Parliament for Kikuyu, has been very busy in the entire Kiambu County, drumming up support for William Ruto. However, it's a big shame for an MCA who should be more careful, who should dig a little deeper to know what the law says before doing some of these crazy things. It's a shame that an MCA should be charged with such an offense. Anyway, my point of bringing up this very interesting story, very fascinating story, has to do with what I said yesterday. Now, just to remind you, or to bring it to the attention of those who missed it altogether, yesterday I talked about the only hope for Kenya being all in the current political class going home, and Kenyans electing a brand new, fresh, new faces into our politics and into various leadership positions, including President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, many of you received that positively, but there was a section of you that strongly were against what I said, which is okay, because as you all know on this channel, we accept various opposing views. We are not a dictatorship in terms of thought and opinions and views like so many others are. And so all that was said, including some very biting remarks, were all well in order. No problem with that. However, I have a very major concern and a worry. My concern and worry is that a vast majority of Kenyans may not be ready for Kenya's midnight hour, which is at our doorstep. What exactly do I mean by Kenya's midnight hour? Well, you all know that midnight is actually the darkest time of the night. Kenya's darkest hour is at our doorsteps. And one critical way of preparing for the darkest hour of your nation is to remove your heart completely from your favored political players. It is more than clear that the arrested Kiambu MCA, Julius Macharia Taki, has his heart firmly in the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto camp. So much so that he went out of his way and spent money to brand his Toyota Hiace. The police are saying he branded it illegally, but the truth is he branded it in a way that left no doubt that he is firmly in the camp of the Deputy President and would like all his supporters and all those who voted for him, and indeed the entire county and his entire ward, of course, to support the Deputy President. You know, there's a time and a season for everything. And I can tell you categorically, this is not the season to have a favorite political horse. I know many of you remember in 2017 when we introduced the word of prophecy from a prophetess, overturn, overturn, overturn. And unfortunately, many of those who follow this channel don't understand prophecy, and many believe that we have forgotten that prophetic word. Well, we haven't, and Kenya's midnight hour, in connection to that prophecy, is at hand. You know, fascinatingly, all staunch supporters of Raila Odinga and DP William Ruto call their candidate a servant of God. Well, I'm sorry. This is not the time of the season to declare your favorite politician a servant of God. It isn't. More so because of the crazy events that are about to unfold in Kenya as part of the overturn prophecy. My prayer is that nobody, not a single person who takes in this channel regularly, is caught by surprise. When something does not take you by surprise, you're better prepared to handle it. Even the shock is not as major as if it takes you completely by surprise. And we know since the beginning of time that shock is not a good thing. Sometimes it takes people's lives. Somebody's shocked and the heart stops beating, and that's it. And of course it'll help a great deal if you start as soon as possible. Removing your heart completely from your favorite political horse. Because obviously for the overturn prophecy to come into play, to kick in, those guys will be the worst hit. You know, many of us Kenyans are in the dark. Many Kenyans don't believe that devil worship in very, very senior people in politics is going on in Kenya. And that is why many of those will not believe when I tell you that the strange killings in Matungu, in Kakamega, are related to bloodletting in order to get political power. I mean, even if you didn't know this, even if you didn't believe this, I can ask you a simple question. How else do you explain killings that have no motive? You kill a pregnant woman and an unborn child and a child who is already born. What for? You kill a 7-year-old child, 7-year-old boy. What for? What's the motive? You kill people and you don't take anything from them. You're not stealing. Well, this is not the first time, definitely not, that bloodletting has gone on in Kenya, so that some people may get political power. It's not. Indeed, the very foundation of our nation is based on bloodletting. But for today, let me not go too deeply into that. All I want you to know is that you need to get ready for Kenya's midnight hour, which is loading as we speak. I am no prophet, so how do I know that Kenya's midnight hour is loading? All of you who closely follow political events in Kenya will know one thing for sure, very soon something has to give. Yeah, because Kenya cannot continue on this road. Let me illustrate what I'm saying. You're driving a vehicle going for holiday down in Mombasa, and you're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, maybe somewhere after Mtito Day. It's bush all around you. And you keep driving because it's at night. You don't want to stop. It's risky. But you can hear very loud bangs coming from where your engine should be. Yeah, and there's also smoke, yeah, which you're able to see through the headlights, yeah, although it's at night. Now, definitely you know, as much as you're praying and hoping for a miracle, definitely you know that very soon something will have to give. Very soon the car will stop. Yeah, that one you already know. Although you're praying for a miracle, that is precisely where the nation called Kenya is. And that is why I believe, in my view, that Kenya's midnight hour is very close. I really appreciate and love all of you, yeah, who support this channel, yeah, who take in all my videos. But my very strong advice is that you need to subscribe immediately, if you've not already subscribed, to a service that gives breaking news. It is very important, even for your safety, especially if you live in Kenya, yeah, that you have some breaking news service. There are several. Subscribe to one of them, because this channel is not a breaking news channel. I've also realized that social media is very effective in breaking news. Yeah. Once I was somewhere, and one of my assistants was on Facebook. This was in 2017. And they came running very fast, although they are a bit overweight. Yeah, and this is a lady. And she was breathing very hard. And she said, "Chris, you have to hear this. They have found Musando's body. He's dead." Yep, that news came in and was broken by social media even before the breaking news services. Yeah, but my strong recommendation is get a very reliable breaking news channel. Why? As part of our preparations for Kenya's darkest hour. Anyway, let us move on to this drama in Somalia that is going to impact us in a very major way. Now, human nature is such that when somebody stops liking you, they will not tell you directly what the reason is. They will not give you the root cause. It starts with your girlfriend taking too long to respond to your text messages. Yeah, and when you see her later, she gives you the excuse she was busy, and you brush that aside. And then it reaches a point where you can no longer ignore it. Yeah, because she tells you she's unavailable over the weekend. Yeah, and you can't remember the last time she was unavailable over a weekend. Then she starts complaining that you're very mean. Yeah, maybe she also changes the locks to her apartment. The key you have no longer gains entry. And then you know for sure there's something going on. Pengine amekushiba. But more likely is the fact that she has met somebody else. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that story is because we all know this Kenya-Somali manenos has been going on for some time. And many of us believe that it all started with the border dispute. Yeah, the border of oil wells, or rather prospective oil wells on the Indian Ocean, off the shore of the two countries. But my message to you, don't believe for a minute when the girlfriend who has always been responding to your messages instantly tells you that she was busy. The reason is not that she was busy. There's something else. And therefore I'm here to tell you that the border dispute is only a symptom of the real problem between Kenya and Somalia. So what is the real problem? Well, we have to go back in time to the year 2017. On May 5th, 2017, we were all preparing for the general election. We had no time, absolutely, for foreign news. But something very fascinating unfolded in Mogadishu, Somalia. The U.S. Africa Command acknowledged the death of an American Navy SEAL in Mogadishu, who was killed in a combat situation. By acknowledging And confirming this report, those who are keen realized something immediately, that American troops were already in Somalia. That was May 5th, 2017. And the US Africa Command was forced to confirm that they had several dozen troops in Somalia. But doing what? There was an interesting analysis by an American writer about this renewed interest of the United States in Somalia. And what she said was that the renewed interest was because Somalia was in a very strategic position geographically, which of course is absolutely true, because it's very close to the Arabian Peninsula, where everything happens, and also it's almost bang at the entrance of the Gulf of Aden, where most ships in the world, cargo, war, etc., have to pass on their way to the Suez Canal. With all due respect to that very knowledgeable writer, I just shook my head when I read that article. For a very simple reason. Had it taken the US hundreds of years, decades, to suddenly realize that Somalia was in a strategic position? Surely, this is information the US must have had, must have known all along. So it cannot be the reason for the sudden interest in Somalia. But there was more drama on the way. And by the way, I hope I don't lose you. I'm talking about the root cause of the of the tension between Kenya and Somalia. And I'm saying it has nothing to do with the border dispute. The border dispute is just part of the symptoms. It is the same thing as the diplomats being denied entry, Somalia diplomats being denied entry into Kenya. Those are symptoms. The root cause, we have to look elsewhere. So more drama unfolded. Very serious drama. The UN was about to pass a resolution declaring the Al-Shabaab terror group, a terror organization. And guess what? It was blocked. 2 countries with veto powers strongly blocked it. Those countries were, wait for this one, the United States of America and the UK. Now, hold on a minute. Nationalities of those countries have been murdered in terror attacks in Kenya, where the Al-Shabaab group have claimed responsibility. And so, what are the US and UK saying? Refusing to declare the obvious. Well, the message is clear. It seems what they're saying is that the Al-Shabaab terror group are in fact freedom fighters. Because the truth is, there can only be one of 2 things. Either terror group or freedom fighters. And by the UK and US, very, very strongly disputing, refusing, rejecting that UN resolution, that is precisely what they must have been saying. And then for the first time, shortly after that, for the first time, the Somali vote was missing in opposition to Israel. A resolution was passed by the UN concerning Israel. And the anti-Israel Somali vote was missing. They opted not to vote. Now, all those are very clear signs of political horse trading. And when political horse trading is going on, it's very difficult to establish for sure what the end game really is. Now, the latest is at the beginning of this month, the Kenyan foreign CS, Monica Juma, launched a campaign, to try to get the help of the European Union, to get the UN to declare the Al-Shabaab group a terror organization. The group being declared a terror group has massive implications, especially with the financing, of the war against them. Oh, by the way, early this year, in March, the US, after many decades, has re-established diplomatic relations with Somalia. And the ambassador to Somalia from the US is my favorite guy. I'm sure you'll remember him from the elections, Manenos, the election crisis in Kenya. His name is Donald Yamamoto. Please note, not Yamamoto. Yamamoto. Obviously an American of Japanese descent. You know Japanese names are really feared in Kenya. Yeah, I don't want to say this because this is a family channel. But there's a place in Japan. Most Kenyans can never pronounce that place. Because the direct translation into Swahili is something that can never come out of my mouth. And indeed the mouths of many decent Kenyans. Anyway, the writing is very clearly on the wall. The US and Somalia. Now, this has very far-reaching implications to Kenya. Remember, Kenya has sacrificed many Kenyan lives in Somalia. Now it is clear that we are being brushed aside by the mighty United States of America and their close ally, the United Kingdom, which should hardly be surprising when you consider the close ties Kenya has been having with China. The UK especially has lost a lot of business from Kenya because of these close ties between Kenya and China. And of course, Kenya cannot confront the powerful Western countries over this Somalia issue. They can't. And so, there's no other way. Somalia, watajua hawajui, from Kenyans. The change in the visa law, where Somalians used to just come and get their passport stamped at the point of entry, which has now changed to a situation where they have to apply for a visa to enter Kenya, in the Kenyan High Commission, or rather Kenyan Embassy in Somalia. In my view, there's a lot more coming. But in my view, whatever Kenya does, maziwa ikimwagika izoleki. It is all over for Kenya in Somalia. Because the United States have moved in. And we know that Kenyan troops are about to withdraw from Somalia, which should be good news to many Kenyans, who have never believed that the objectives of Kenya entering Somalia, have ever been achieved. Indeed, many Kenyans feel that it has brought a lot of problems into Kenya, which is not true. Because most Kenyans have conveniently forgotten that terror attacks into Kenya, where tourists were being kidnapped, started long before our troops entered Somalia. Still, in my view, all that is now water under the bridge. More so because the other African countries which are very excited about the developments in Somalia. Ethiopia, for instance, which is a landlocked country, has its mouth watering over the possibility of getting a reliable port much closer to them, in Kismayu, Somalia. My gut feeling is that the renewed American and UK interest in Somalia has to do with their oil. I suspect that the volumes of oil off the coast of Somalia, some would say, and Kenya, are huge. And as you know, oil is a matter of national security as far as the United States is concerned. If I can just remind you, the US spent massive resources in fighting 2 Gulf wars because of oil. Forget all the other reasons were given for those wars. They're not true. The real cause was oil, period. In fact, because of these developments, I'll be very surprised if Kenya wins the border dispute case currently before the ICC at The Hague. I'll be very shocked, very surprised if Kenya wins that case. And don't get me wrong, it's not because I don't support Kenya's cause. It's not because I don't take the same view as Kenya. No, I'm just facing reality, based on the rapidly unfolding events, in Somalia. It is unlikely that they'll win that case. It's called international politics. Very brutal. And believe it or not, sometimes more brutal than Kenyan politics. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.